What's up guys, Kennedy here, and today we've got a very cool topic, which is the short comparison of a full suspension and the hardtail bike. Now we do have also the rigid bikes. The rigid bike will have the rigid frame and rigid fork. This is the hardtail, which has hardtail and the suspension fork, and this one is full suspension bike, which has a suspension fork and also suspension in the rear. To make the long story short, I would say from what I see from my perspective that some 20 or even 30% of all the bike owners would be just pleased with the rigid bikes, because these are the cheapest, lightest, easiest, and also easiest to maintain, and also just, you know, good enough for city and also different type of easy terrain. Now the hardtail, in my opinion, would be the best for some around 50 or 60% of all the bike owners, because those will be on more reasonable price than the full suspension bike, will be still light enough, not that complicated, and those will be very versatile through different terrains. So you can be using a hardtail bike in the city for your comfort, and you can use a hardtail bike with different suspension fork in easy to super hard terrain. And now I don't know, maybe 20, maybe 10% of all the bike owners should go for a full suspension bike. And now I'm gonna tell you what are the cons and pros for those two. I think it's fair enough to say that the full suspension bike will have more cons than the hardtail, because, you know, this is just more versatile, so for more people, fitting to more people, to more needs of the bikers. Now the hardtail bike, because of the suspension fork, it can have from 80 millimeters to 120 or even more millimeters of travel. It will allow you to ride in some difficult terrains. Most of the cross-country pro riders are usually racing on the hardtails, and if you see the circuits nowadays on cross-country, you can see full of rock gardens, full of drops, very high drops, steep climbs, steep descents. Hardtail, awesome. It will not be that expensive and difficult to maintain, because you have only the suspension fork. Now for the full suspension bike, in the rear we've got a damper, which is like the equivalent of the damping part of our fork, and also the pivots here, and these are the parts that you should be maintaining regularly. You should know when buying the bike how often, after how many miles or hours of riding, you should go back to your local store and have those parts checked. You can have some bearings here, you can have some pivots, some bushings in the pivots, and this is very easy stuff, this one, because it's old school full suspension bike. But in nowadays the design can be much more difficult, making the bike working better, but also making it more complicated in terms of the design and engineering. So when should we go for a full suspension bike? Of course, downhill, enduro, all those crazy cyclists or bikers will go for downhill, because for a full suspension bike, because they need the travel of the rear wheel. That would be from 120 just upwards. Then there will be also a group of riders who are endurance mountain bike riders. They do like to take the bike for a long ride somewhere in the mountains, and they need a comfort. They do not think, if you're not thinking about saving 5, 10, 30 seconds on the weight of your bike, thanks to the weight on your bike on some steep climbs, then the full suspension bike for a whole day riding would be maybe a good choice. It will give you more comfort, and that's the group of riders often using these kind of bikes. And now there's also a group of riders who have a back injury or they just need comfort, they do not ride maybe that regularly, they can afford the full suspension bike, and that's absolutely okay to have one. The full suspension bike will try to waste our energy on the uphills because of the weight, so it will be much heavier than the hardtail, and also it tries to waste our energy because of the damper here in the rear. So when we are pushing our pedals down, the rear suspension is also trying to absorb the energy that we are giving into our drivetrain. Now, nowadays we have, like I said, better design, like virtual pivots. We've got better dampers, like Pro Pedal platform, and those can really distinguish whether the forces that are coming to them are coming from the ground or from your legs. But even though these full suspension bikes nowadays can be really good, they are still not perfect. They will never be perfect. So the hardtail will be better in terms of your energy, not wasting the energy. But then if you're trying to ride like very fast through some roots and rocks, the full suspension bike will allow you to stay longer in the saddle, meaning using less of your muscles and meaning being less fatigued. So you have to really think about the type of terrain you are going to be biking in, and then maybe full suspension bike will fit you. If you can afford it and you would like to have all this comfort, full suspension bike is maybe a good choice. If you are thinking about training a lot, you will be really pissed off by the rear suspension doing the job when it's not supposed to be. And the hardtail may be really a good option. If you are trying to be racing in cross country or marathons, the hardtail bike will usually be the best option. If you can afford both, that's the best thing without a question. Just buy them both. For myself, hardtail is just the best option, but I'm also quite excited about having the hardtail with a carbon rigid fork, especially for some uphill races. But when I'll be able to have maybe 1 or 2 bikes more, just for me, not for our Canada Institute, but just for me, this kind of bike would be really something I'd like to be using for some weekend rides. So thanks for watching. I hope those guys who are using both the types of bikes will let us know in the comments what do you think about it. If you have any further questions, just put them below the video and I will meet you there. Once more, thanks for watching and thank you guys for your support. I will see you soon. Bye bye.